The new government, led by Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, have made some progress with the European Union. The Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has been communicating with the European Union. Here we are in the very early stages of the new Labour government, and already we have a dialogue open about getting rid of Brexit red tape for trade. As I've always thought that we are better off to be in the position like Northern Ireland, where we joined them in a much better Brexit reality. The truth of the matter is Brexit always was about getting an American trade deal. In getting an American trade deal, it means different standards. The standards in the European Union are higher, and that means that if we wanted to be part of America, we then needed to have a hard border between us and the European Union. Then we had the problem with Northern Ireland because none of the Brexiteers thought about the difficulties of the Good Friday Agreement and the need for a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. And this is why we have been stuck in the position that we've been in for the last 4 years since Brexit happened. And now finally we've got some common sense. The truth of the matter is the actual divergence isn't worth the bother. The American trade deal hasn't happened, won't happen, it'll never happen. And the trade deals that we've had since Brexit are either copies of what we had in the European Union or they're worse. For instance, the Canada deal is worse. We've lost our cheese quota with Canada, and we're on worse terms than we were within the European Union. And the only thing that's changed actually is Britain is more accessible to agricultural goods from other countries with lower standards, which is why British farming and our food security is under such a lot of stress. So I'm very hearted to hear this news. Theo Usherwood was on Times Radio. Have a listen.
And what's interesting about this is he's been talking about it in the round of Brexit. Now, we know that Labour are looking at dynamic alignment for particular sectors and trying to deal with the tensions that the border down the middle of the Irish Sea caused as a result of, in effect, the Northern Ireland protocols, and actually applying those to other sectors on mainland Great Britain, so that actually the situation in Scotland, Wales and England actually mirrors much more closely the situation in Northern Ireland.
I was mentioning that Keir Starmer was in Northern Ireland today. I think he's been in Wales as well. What's he been saying?
So this ties in the Northern Ireland visit today, and he's been, of course, meeting with the First Minister of Northern Ireland at Stormont, Michelle O'Donnell, and of course Emma Little-Pengelly, the Deputy First Minister. Know that Labour are looking at dynamic alignment for particular sectors and trying to deal with the tensions that the border down the middle of the Irish Sea caused as a result of, in effect, the Northern Ireland protocols, and actually applying those to other sectors on mainland Great Britain, so that actually the situation in Scotland, Wales and England actually mirrors much more closely the situation in Northern Ireland. It's not going to be blanket right across because, of course, he doesn't like the charge that we're taking the UK back, or Britain into the back door of the European Union, but it is going to be much closer to the arrangements in Northern Ireland on a sector-by-sector basis.
And can he do that without agreement from the EU?
Well, no, he needs the agreement from the EU. He'll need to sign up to their... And it's not just about signing up to the current rules, it's about signing up to EU rules in perpetuity. So you have... If the EU decide to change rules, and we are no longer in the European Union, then we have to agree that regardless, we will go along with those rules.
And which sectors in particular?
Chemicals. You're looking at just anything with just-in-time manufacturing, because that's where the paperwork causes the blockages. So if you're assembling a car, you need the tyres to arrive at a particular time. You need the exhaust to arrive at a particular time. And the paperwork is what causes the blockages. And that's why they're looking particularly at sectors where you have very, very fine margins in order to take away the paperwork, and hopefully that will improve the chances of getting investment into the country.
And meat and other agricultural products produce?
Yes, and also phytosanitary as well. So yes, anything, and that's phytosanitary and veterinary phytosanitary is very close to the problems, of course, in Northern Ireland that the last government was struggling with as well.
I mean, this sounds a little bit like cherry picking. I mean,
It is.
do we know if Brussels is up for it?
Well, of course, Brussels is going to have its own demands as well, Adam. That in return, there's already been talk about from Brussels about improving free movement for the 18 to 30-year-olds who want to come to the UK. And yes, you're right to say in any trade deal, there is another side to the bargain. And that's, of course, a problem potentially for Keir Starmer and for the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy.
Are they the ones who are going to negotiate this?
Initially, David Lammy's already been over in Europe talking to various European leaders in Germany and Poland about the prospect. And of course, there's the Blenheim Summit coming up on the 18th of July, where they're going to be looking at closer political alignment.
Very exciting that we might soon be in a place where we're not bogged down with bureaucracy and red tape and unnecessary costs to trade with our biggest market on our doorstep.
When the previous Labour government handed over to the coalition, there was a note in a drawer saying there's no money left. Did you find a similar note?
Do you know, I opened the drawer and there was nothing in it, so I can only assume they couldn't afford the notepaper.
Well,
Or they learned from history that writing that note was, in retrospect, the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Prime Minister and now actually former MP Liz Truss talked about an anti-growth coalition which has been holding back growth. Do you think there's an anti-growth coalition in Britain, and if so, what do you plan to do about it?
Well, the anti-growth coalition of the Conservative Party and the British people kicked them out of office last week,
I've repeatedly warned that whoever won the general election would inherit the worst set of circumstances since the Second World War. What I have seen in the past 72 hours has only confirmed that. Our economy has been held back by decisions deferred and decisions ducked. Political self-interest put ahead of the national interest. A government that put party first and country second. We face the legacy of 14 years of chaos and economic irresponsibility.